As the state of Texas outlines another strategy to handle security on the southern border, what this state is now doing to get ready when President-elect Donald Trump is sworn into office next month. Also ahead of city council divided, the search for the next Dallas city manager is exposing the differences in who the council wants. And Frisco has been booming for years now from the Dallas Cowboys and other businesses in town. In 2025, what is the city getting ready for? We have those answers for you in an exclusive interview with the city's mayor straight ahead. Hello, everyone. I'm Ken Molestina in for Jack Fink this week. Eye on Politics starts right now. Hello, everyone. We begin today with the battle over securing the southern border. President-elect Donald Trump weighed in last week on reports that the Biden administration is auctioning off unused parts of the border wall.
They know we're going to use it, and if we don't have it, we're going to have to rebuild it, and it'll cost double what it cost years ago, and that's hundreds of millions of dollars, because you're talking about a lot of wall.
Well, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick posting onto social media that the Texas Facilities Commission told him and Governor Abbott that the material for sale was mostly junk, with panels covered in concrete and rust. There were a few panels that might be usable, but not worth the cost of shipping to Texas from Arizona. Attorney General Ken Paxton has asked the court to stop any sale of border wall material. The Texas Tribune, a nonprofit news website based out of Austin, has published a 6-month-long investigation. This is into the state's border wall. They're reporting that the border wall has cost about $3.1 billion so far. And the wall is about 50 miles, but it's built in 24 short pieces that are spread across 6 counties along the southern border. Some parts are less than 100 yards wide, and other sections of the wall are more than 700 miles apart. The Tribune found the border wall program appears to be hampered now by landowners who are reluctant or who simply don't want the wall built on their property. We talked to Texas Tribune reporter Zach Despart about what he found and potentially the issue of eminent domain.
So far, the wall has been built entirely based on landowners volunteering to use their land for the wall. That has gotten the state about 65 miles of land to work with. It has not halted construction so far, but going forward, based on the rate of holdouts, which again is about 30% based on the contract documents that we were able to obtain, going forward, that does present challenges when at some point you run out of land to build on. Now, Senator Creighton, for the coming legislative session, has filed a bill that would reverse that decision, that would allow the legislature to use eminent domain and forcibly take land for the wall. When I talked with him, he said, look, I know that we decided not to before, but the border wall is so important to secure the border for Texas and for the country that we shouldn't wait any longer. It is time to start taking this land.
Well, on Thursday, Governor Greg Abbott unveiled a billboard campaign to try and deter migrants from making the journey to the southern border. Those billboards will be displayed in Central America and Mexico, and they warn of the legal consequences and the dangers of trying to enter the U.S. illegally. The governor also addressed the role that Texas will likely play in the immigration debate when Donald Trump becomes president next month.
Obviously, because of the size of the state of Texas, because it's the most southern border state, we have 2/3 of the entire mileage between the United States and Mexico is the state of Texas. There's a lot of reasons why Texas will be playing a centerpiece role in closing the border and in the deportation process.
I was at the border last week. We were talking to people who live and who work there, wanted to know more about their expectations when President-elect Trump is sworn into office on January 20th. I'm going to be working on those stories ahead of Inauguration Day, and we will have them for you the week before. Now to Dallas and the search for the next city manager. It appears there is division between city council members over the candidates. Our Steve Pickett clears up what happened last Monday and what's next.
The selection of a new city manager for Dallas remains bogged down by dissatisfaction and debate among members of the city council.
It's not fair to our residents to continue to postpone a decision that needs to be made expeditiously.
We do not have any more time to waste. The time for action is now, and the leaders around this horseshoe need to do their duty and hire a city manager.
Frustration voiced after a called council meeting to interview and possibly select a city manager finalist was canceled. Not enough city council members showed up. That absence intentional, according to one council member I spoke with. These are the 4 announced semifinalists for the job, including current interim Dallas City Manager Kim Tolbert. This group provided by the city's contracted search firm. But some council members complained after learning of an expanded list of 50 city manager candidates. The council met in private, deliberating qualifications of candidates while also escalating the dispute over the selection process, the candidates themselves, and the time taken to choose the city's top management leader, who still needs to fill top city positions, including police chief.
I hope that politics is not involved in this, because this is the most important hire that the city council does. This is hiring the CEO, the manager of our entire city. That the city manager runs the city.
We are going to have a meeting on the 23rd, talk to all the candidates.
Steve Pickett, CBS News, Texas.
Well, on Friday, the Dallas NAACP announced their support for the current interim city manager, Kim Tolbert. They pointed to her familiarity with the issues facing Dallas.
So the question is asked, why would we want to bring someone in new when we already have a person on the job that has trained?
Well, Tolbert has been with the city of Dallas since 2017. It's her second time with the city after serving from 2008 to 2016 in a variety of roles, including assistant to the city manager. When the calendar turns to January 1st, 2025, there are some changes that Texans will need to know about. Sarah Jenkins explains in this week's brief.
Vehicle safety inspections for non-commercial vehicles will take a back seat in the new year. Safety inspections will no longer be required for Texans to register a non-commercial vehicle, but there will be an inspection program replacement charge, $7.50 when registering your vehicle. And some counties like Dallas, Denton, and Collin will still require an emissions test. Safety inspections will still be required for commercial vehicles. Changes to the Texas Data Privacy and Security Act also go into effect on January 1st. The new safeguard enables Texans to use browser settings, extensions, and device functionalities to opt out of data sales, targeted advertising, and profiling based on personal data. And more money will be available to school districts in the new year. Suppose district budgets run out after regular state funding and local taxes are calculated in 2025. In that case, they will be able to apply for extra funds to make up for the loss of tax revenues due to limitations on tax increases for elderly and disabled homeowners.
Well, Eye on Politics, just getting started here for you. Dallas County not happy with answers and solutions to address an issue during the November general election. We're going to look at the potential next steps now. Also, Collin County's election administrator will tell our Jack Fink why now is the right time for him to step aside. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Dallas County commissioners appear ready to make changes after the November general election. We told you last month the Dallas City Council learned nearly 4,000 people got a ballot that was not for their precinct during the first 2 days of early voting. Now, during the Dallas County Commissioners Court meeting last Tuesday, commissioners learned this was somehow a software problem from the provider directly. And with a new round of elections coming up in May, the Dallas County Elections Administrator voiced his disappointment with the provider's response to fix the issue.
What I was expecting to hear today was, we picked up the phone a month ago, we talked to the secretary, we talked to the team, we have an emergency certification set for January, February, we think we can make it to May. And what I'm hearing is, that hasn't been done.
Well, county commissioners are threatening to find a new provider. The issue is expected to come up during meetings in January. Collin County Elections Administrator Bruce Sherbet announced recently that he's retiring. Eye on Politics anchor Jack Fink sat down with Sherbet to talk about the retirement plans and the election-related issues in the state.
Well, this last 4 years has been very stressful to be an elections administrator. And I'm not just speaking for myself, I'm speaking for every elections administrator, not just in this state and this nation. So it takes a lot out of you. And I've done this so long, I've really done the things I wanted to do. I've been able to transition to multiple voting methods over the years. I've been able to implement laws that were passed that were very important to our processes. So I feel like I've accomplished what I was hoping to set out to do.
What made it so stressful?
Well, I think people that didn't accept the results of the 2020 election. That's plain and simple in that regard. Election deniers, people that just couldn't accept the results.
Even here in Texas?
Even here in Texas. And I can tell you, not just large counties, small counties, medium-sized counties. I've talked to many, many elections administrators that are feeling the same kind of angst that I feel about what we've had to experience for the last 4 years.
And did you experience it in this election?
This election, not as much as some of the ones up to this election. 2022 was pretty rough, and this one was really smooth in terms of logistics and processes. But we still had the same people with these election integrity concerns that were all in the process. So nothing really changed in that regard. It's just the election itself was pretty smooth. That didn't open up things that could have made it more complicated and more stressful.
And so what were the people saying that made it so stressful, the critics of how elections are being run in Texas and specifically here in Collin County?
Well, I think, you know, there's a phrase that's used all too common nowadays, election integrity, and it's a broad term that really had packed into it a lot of misinformation and disinformation about processes. I could tell you, and I have many, many years of doing this, our voting systems today are more secure, more accurate, and better to protect voters from their own mistakes than any systems we've ever used. And I'm telling you, any since the beginning of time. There is not an election integrity problem across the way. There may be administrators are making mistakes, or there could be some software issues or equipment issues, but all of the things that are in place right now are really assuring voters you have very smooth and accurate election processes.
And who gets the credit for that? In other words, you said that this is the most secure system. Is it elections administrators? Is it the state of Texas? Is it lawmakers? I mean, who is it who gets credit for that?
Well, I think the evolution. I mean, if you just go back in time to voting methods, from paper ballot all the way till today, you've seen every method and every new piece of equipment for voting improve from the previous ones, from lever machines to punch cards to optical scan to touch screen units to what's called ballot marking devices now. We've seen every single method of voting really improve over the time. The laws have changed. There have been better trackings of processes, better auditability. We have everything in place that we need. Our voter files, we maintain them daily. And I know you hear things that there's all of these names on the list that shouldn't be on there. I can tell you the processes are very strong, and they do catch those kinds of things where a person has died or they moved or been convicted of a felony, have to be removed from the rolls. Non-citizen, if you had any of those situations occur. There is a very, very thorough process that I think would amaze people if they knew behind the scenes how many checks and balances are involved.
Was our Jack Fink reporting on that. Coming up, Frisco's mayor looking ahead to 2025. Welcome back, everyone. You know, there is a city that is experiencing phenomenal growth. It's Frisco. If you know the city, you know what we're talking about. Jack returns now with a conversation alongside Frisco Mayor Jeff Cheney on the economic development plans that are going into the next year.
This is one of the busiest times we've ever had as a community, believe it or not, and it's really happening all over our city. It's happening in different sectors, really being highlighted by what we call our halo effect in each area. Of course, mentioning the northern part of our city, the PGA landing up there has really kicked off roughly $10 billion of announced commercial development that all want to be within that halo of what that has produced. So you have Fields West, which is moving dirt right now. That's Femi Carahan's kind of Legacy West 2.0 type project that is hopefully going to be delivered in late 2026. Firefly Park is the Wilkes family doing development right at 380 in the tollway. Its main attraction is going to be the 40-plus acre park that runs through it. So they're really activating that space to make it interact with nature and trails and ponds and so forth. And that's going to be $1 billion plus development.
And that's mixed use, right?
It is mixed use, and it's under development right now. Fields North is directly across from the PGA, which should feel a lot like what Shops of Legacy did in Plano, where it's not as high rise, but it's still dense with mixed use uses. And then you have the Link, which is the project that actually has the unobstructed views of the PGA golf course. So that whole area is going to really transform over the next 5 years.
And just talking about all the growth, I mean, are people, I know, North Texas is a mecca, right? People are coming here, but are they finding that part of Frisco?
Yes, so this region is largely considered the hottest commercial market in the entire country. If you talk to commercial brokers, from things that have happened in Plano to the Colony, of course, all the things happening in Frisco, and there's so much growth happening to the north of Frisco and Prosper and Salina. And so a lot of those residents coming here for employment, coming here to dine. And so there's a lot of demand for it. We look at Frisco as being kind of the next kind of urban hub. I mean, you've got Dallas, you've got Fort Worth and kind of suburban communities around those. And really what's developing here is kind of that new hotspot, which is Frisco. That's going to be kind of the center of attention up here.
And so you're talking about jobs as far as all these commercial, I mean, are there any like big names coming?
Yeah, so, Keurig Dr. Pepper was our first Fortune 500 company. TIAA, which moved in this summer, was our second.
That's at the Star.
That's at the Star. And those won't be our last. So we're really pushing to bring in a lot of jobs here to our community. In fact, at our meeting this week, we were actually told of an announcement that's coming that's going to take an entire building all by itself. So that's coming down the pike, probably here within the next 60 days as far as that announcement.
And what kind of business are we talking about?
We actually haven't even been told it yet.
Ah, okay.
And so it's going to be released here quickly, but it's going to be a big brand name. That's going to bring a lot of employment, over 1,000 jobs.
Whoa, is
Yes.
this a relo?
It is.
Corporate?
Yes, and so our Economic Development Corporation has been really aggressive in trying to find relocations from all over the country. It's a great sales proposition here. I mean, you start with the state of Texas being a great place to do business. Of course, DFW is hot on its own just because being in the central part of the United States and having a great airport. And then when you really refine down to the city level, Frisco really stands out because we've got Class A opportunities and world-class developments, and that's what these employers are looking for. They're looking for quality of life for their employees. The HR department basically has a seat at the table, wanting to know that there's going to be a great quality of life, that there's going to be amenities in the park, wherever they're going to go in. So people want to come into the office and want to come to work.
Because it's new as well. It's all new.
Absolutely.
It's not old, 50-year-old buildings here.
Yeah, I mean, the new concepts of how these office parks are developed is you have to have more than just the office buildings. You have to have places for people to get out and go walk or work outside or interact with nature.
And what was the timing on this announcement?
I would expect we would hear it over the next few months.
And as far as you said, they would take up a whole building. Is that
Yeah.
already built, or that would be built for this company, whatever that is?
Yeah, they're looking at existing space.
Existing space.
Yeah.
And so you talked before about growth all over the city. I know on the southern end there's Hall Park.
Yes.
That has expanded. We've seen that go up. And Kaleidoscope Park.
Yes.
Talk to me about how important that park is to the city and to what you were talking about before.
Yeah, I mean, that's a personal passion project for me. And so that ordinance was actually passed in 2017. It was the first of its kind. It's our commercial open space ordinance. And so that was actually something I campaigned on, is we wanted to actually look at our commercial properties as an extension of our park system, that they should be connected via trails and they should have parks kind of within these environments, and just making sure that we're preserving this land forever. And so when we put that into place, we got a lot of pushback from developers because it had never been done before. And now that it's been in place now for 7 or 8 years, now the developers thank us because it's really transformed all of the different developments, from the H-E-B that we have here in Frisco having a park next to it, to even our neighborhood retail putting parks in those developments. But Kaleidoscope Park is kind of the next iteration of that. Hall Park was just office buildings. Really the only reason to go there was if you worked there. And so he's really turning it into a complete district, an 18-hour district where, now there's going to be residential there, there's hotel, restaurants are coming, and Kaleidoscope Park brings families there that don't work there. So it's become much more than just an office park. And really the key is the activation of these parks. And so they're going to have roughly 300 programmed events in the park every single year. So for people from all over the region will come to Frisco just to come see Kaleidoscope Park.
And it's been compared to Clyde Warren, but it's obviously much smaller scale than that.
Yeah, similar concept in that it's highly activated. I think the acreage is actually pretty similar. You know, different focuses. You know, Craig Hall and Hall Park has always been known for the public art. So the Janet Eckelman, you know, suspended sculpture, it was pretty iconic there. You know, and then we're already looking at expansions of that park. But similar already, yeah, just been so successful already. We're already looking at that. But really, the concept, very much like Clyde Warren, is to have these different rooms within the park, kind of the parks within the park. You know, so you could go there one day to have children play in the children's playground, and then another day you're having a date night where you're watching a live musical performance. And so it's going to be activated in a lot of different ways.
Remember, you can watch the full interviews of everyone today on our YouTube channel. Just search CBS News Texas and click on the subscribe button. There's also an Eye on Politics playlist where you can catch up on any shows that you may have missed. That's all for Eye on Politics for this Sunday. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you back next week when Jack returns. Have a great week, everyone.